everyone. Welcome to the Backstage Classical Career Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Katrina Stroud, and I'm a classical violinist who started playing at the age of 3. I graduated from the Robert McDuffie Center for Strings at Mercer University with my bachelor's in violin performance, and I'm pursuing my master's in music at the University of Michigan. In this series, I invite esteemed classical musicians onto the show and interview them to tell their stories and give advice to share with others and preserve their legacies. Welcome back to part 2 of Robert McDuffie's interview. Mr. McDuffie was my former teacher and founder of the school where I completed my undergraduate degree, the Robert McDuffie Center for Strings at Mercer University. For those of you who aren't familiar with the McDuffie Center, it's a tuition-free college program of up to 27 string instrumentalists with world-class faculty members. I would not be the musician I am today, and this podcast wouldn't exist without the McDuffie Center. For anyone who hasn't yet listened to part 1, here's a brief introduction of Robert McDuffie. He's an Emmy Award-winning and Grammy-nominated violinist and enjoys a multifaceted career. He has appeared as a soloist on 5 continents with the most premier orchestras around the world. Philip Glass dedicated his Violin Concerto No. 2, The American Four Seasons, to Mr. McDuffie, and he's performed it more than 100 times around the world. Mike Mills composed his Concerto for Violin, Rock Band, and Orchestra for him, and he received an Emmy Award for A Night of Georgia Music with Mike Mills, Chuck Leavell, Rock Band, and the McDuffie Center for Strings Ensemble, which is currently airing on PBS stations across America. Mr. McDuffie is the founder of both the Rome Chamber Music Festival in Italy and the Robert McDuffie Center for Strings at Mercer University in his native city of Macon, Georgia. He plays a 1735 Guaneri del Gesu violin known as the Ladenburg. So you play on the Ladenburg Guaneri del Gesu violin, which is a gorgeous violin. Can you tell us how you obtained it?
When my career started, I guess I've reached a point where it was really going nicely, and we were all excited about it, and I felt, and it was validated by my luthier, Rene Morel, the great violin craftsman, and who was my guy. I would go to him for adjustments and repairs and everything, and he kept saying, "You are a Del Gesu player. You are a Del Gesu player. You need a Del Gesu. You need a Del Gesu." It finally hit me when I started making recordings, when I knew I was going to start making recordings, and I was playing some significant dates in Europe and here. I said, okay, I'll take the plunge. I'll see what happens. So you can put out word when any violinist puts out word, I need a Del Gesu. I'm telling you, the dealers who have the Del Gesus call you like that. And I heard immediately from 3 dealers who had Del Gesus available. And of course, they treat you, not only the dealers, but their staff, they treat you like the King of England. I mean, they will take you for caviar. They'll just, they will butter you up. They'll treat you like royalty. So there were 3 violins available. One was the Wieniawski Del Gesu that Bainan Fushi had in Chicago. And Rene Morel, my guy, had a Del Gesu as well, the Fountain. And he wanted to sell it, obviously. And then there was a third, the Ladenburg, that was named after a family from Frankfurt, Germany, who had it during the entire 19th century, owned by a Austrian-German 5th-generation violin dealer based in Bremen, Germany. Okay. So the third guy, Dietmar Machold, owned the violin. He was not just a dealer, he owned it. So, and he had just opened up a New York shop, and he wanted an American soloist to play one of his violins. But he was a controversial figure. He may not have been above board. I think he ended up going to prison for a while, something not related to my violin, but it's not the violin's fault. And he'd come to New York kind of as a swashbuckling German guy who had a lot of money and took away a lot of really good talent in the shops of these violin shops, because he just gave them a great offer and had raided Rene Morel's shop. So Rene was furious with him, furious. and was about to go up against him in competition for me choosing a violin. So we decided to get. This was in the mid-90s. I'd already been playing the violin for a little bit, and he came to New York. Jeff Fushi from Chicago came with the Vinyowski, and Renee brought the fountain. And Joshua Bell came and helped us out, and he brought the Strad that he was playing at the time, and I brought the Galliano that I was playing at the time. So we had 5 violins to just go through, and Josh was a great help. And I played them all. Josh played them all. And I did feel comfortable with this Ladenburg that was owned by the sketchy guy. And of course, it was interesting to know about human nature in this process. Jeff Fushi, whom I like very much, and God rest his soul. Of course, he comes up to me and he goes, "Well, I mean, of course the Vinyowski is the violin for you. Of course it's the violin for you. And I don't even think the scroll is original on the Ladenburg, so I don't think we should do that. And then the fountain, it's just not there. The Vinyowski is the one." And then Renee came, my buddy, whom I trusted, and of course I was expecting him to say, because the fountain was going for $4 million at the time, which was more than the other two. And instead of saying, "I think you need to play the fountain," he said, "The only violin for you is the Ladenburg."
Wow.
Knowing that his number one enemy was going to make a sale. And I'm sure it just killed him inside, but because of his friendship with me and his moral center, he is the one who said, "That's the violin for you."
Wow.
And I realized then it validated my own feeling, but it also made me appreciate Renee's sincerity, character, and friendship. So that was the easy part. I chose the violin. The hard part was finding the money. And that was, that took years, 4 years to come up with a way to, luckily, because Dietmar, because he owned it, I was able to play it most of the time. After many, many false starts, I remember going to a bank and the banker saying, "Where's a Georgia bank?" Because I thought I could tap into since I am from Georgia and I'm well known in Georgia, I could tap into the "We're so proud of you, Bobby" thing. And the banker said, "Bobby, we are so proud of you. We are so proud of you. Tell me, how much is this violin worth?" And I went, "Well, it's actually been appraised by the head of Christie's Fine Instrument for $3.5 million." He said, "Well, Bobby, why do you have to play a $3 million violin? Why can't you play a $1 million violin?" And then I realized I was sweating. And I said, "Well, believe it or not, playing a $1 million violin is like running with a pulled hamstring. I can't go 100%. He went, "That is a very good analogy. Can you believe playing on a $1 million violin is like running with a pulled hamstring? I mean, what an analogy. What an analogy." And he said, "We're not saying no, but it might be kind of hard to justify paying $3 million for a violin where you only play it in our market maybe 10 times out of 100. He did ask me that. He did say, he said, "Classical music is not my expertise, but $3.5 million is." So obviously I didn't get the violin.
Yeah.
But that became kind of a famous story. It was printed in the Wall Street Journal, that story, and the reporter called this banker who was a great guy. He actually wrote me a 2-page handwritten note saying, apologizing for not being able to buy it, but in fact, some of his advisors had told him to do it. But he basically said, "I'm proud you play in Hong Kong, but we don't care about Hong Kong.
Yeah.
We care about Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida." I went, "Okay." But I told this story to the Wall Street Journal reporter, and the reporter called this banker and said, "Did you really ask Robert McDuffie why he had to play a $3 million violin. Why couldn't he play a $1 million violin? And he said, I did. I did ask him that. I wanted to ask him why he couldn't play a $100,000 violin, but I didn't want to sound unsophisticated. Okay, so that was one of my false starts. But someone gave me the idea of a limited partnership, and I had no idea what that was, where you would sell shares in a commodity, and you had to have accredited investors, whatever that is. And if it was a $3.4 million price tag, then they suggested that we sell 34 shares at 100,000 each.
Wow.
And if we could do that, I could have the violin. So I took that on and decided that failure was not an option. I'd already fallen in love with the violin. I was definitely not going to give it back. So I started spreading the word, and some people helped me with hosting soirees where I would play. I'd talk about the history of the violin, and realized as people started saying yes to buying shares, including Mike Mills from REM and the commissioner of the National Football League, the Wall Street guy, and people who were parents at my children's school who enjoyed me and playing, I guess. But I realized that they were investing in me and not in a violin.
Right.
I mean, if you want a tax deduction, this is not for you because it's locked in money. No talking tax deduction. You can't take the money out. It's not guaranteed to appreciate in price. It's just basically since the oil and gas failures in the 80s, you're from Texas. The front page of the offering memorandum tells anybody who enters into a limited partnership, the first page basically says, you are an idiot if you invest in this.
Wow.
Now, let's talk about what could be in store for you. But that's the disclaimer that everybody sees.
I see.
You are not, this is a huge risk.
Yep.
And so that added a layer of anxiety, obviously, but we were making some progress. And after about a year and a half or so, after some soirees, we realized we were $1 million short.
Wow.
We'd gotten to 2.4 million, and we needed another $1 million, and didn't know really what to do. I'd run out of people to call, and so I asked Mr. Tagliabue, who was the National Football League commissioner, who was an early investor. He was a friend, actually, whom I'd met through Justice Harry Blackman.
Okay.
So that brings that together. And we'd become friends. I'd played Star Spangled Banners, National Football League games, and helped pick the music for the Super Bowl after 9/11. And anyway, we formed a good, really nice friendship. His wife's from Millersville, Georgia. He said, I have an idea. I'm gonna host another evening in New York in my Park Avenue apartment and just do the whole dog and pony show. And so I did, and he invited a man named Al Lerner, who happened to be the founder of a big bank called MBNA Bank, which I don't think exists anymore, but it was a big thing, and it was based in Wilmington, Delaware. But this guy, Al Lerner, was better known for being the owner of the Cleveland Browns football team. And he and his family were a cultural philanthropist in Cleveland.
Okay.
And Paul thought that it might be good for him to come and at least listen. So he arranged for Al Lerner to come, and he had done some due diligence on me before he came. He called David Cerrone, who was running Cleveland Institute at the time, and see, who's this guy McDuffie? I mean, is he legit? I mean, can he really play? I mean, yeah. And so he already knew about me a little bit, and he heard the pitch, and he was just very kind. I got nothing from him that night, but Paul did take him out to lunch the next day, and said, "Well, are you interested at all in helping us out? We're $1 million short. He said, I do want to help, but I want a tax deduction. And there's no tax deduction in this.
Mm-hmm.
But I have an idea. So what I think I'm going to do is to have, we support this little opera house in Wilmington, Delaware. It's called the Grand Opera House of Wilmington. It's a little hall, and we like what they're doing. And this is what we're going to do. You're 10 shares short. That's $1 million. We're going to give a gift to the Grand Opera House of Wilmington, Delaware. We're going to get our tax deduction, and they're going to invest 10 shares in this violin. And whenever the violin is sold, they'll get the return.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll help them sustain their mission down the road for many years.
Right.
And that's what he did.
Wow.
So the largest shareholder of the Ladenburg violin, played by me, is the Opera House of Wilmington, Delaware.
That's amazing.
And that's what, and in the Wall Street Journal article, we made that piece anonymous. But now I can talk about it.
Wow. Well, that's an amazing story of how much you wanted this violin and how you made it happen.
I couldn't say. Somebody says I can't do something that I really know that is the right thing to do. I get my back up, and so I was just determined. So many people told me that it was impossible to do, and it was the first of its kind. This forming a limited partnership to buy a string instrument.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
So yeah, I mean there have been many instances that way where sometimes the musician has to make it happen, and
Right.
that's one of the reasons worked so hard and forced the university to come up with a curriculum that included business courses. So at least musicians could at least have a sense of how to take charge. And if they can't do it themselves, at least to know who might be able to do it for them.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of the McDuffie Center for Strings, how did this idea first come about and what steps did you take to make it happen?
Well, before I answer that question, I need to ask you, what was your experience like at the McDuffie Center for Strings?
It was amazing. I mean, it was 4 years of really intense and inspiring music conservatory experience, and it helped me develop who I am as a musician and my love for music. And especially my sophomore year when I did competitions and working with Annie Foulard, it was just really transformative experience for me. And I made some of my best friends there, and of course all of my musical mentors, and also the business classes that we took. I don't know, it was nice for me to have something that was not just music all the time. I really enjoyed taking those courses and learning about accounting. Even though it was difficult, I really enjoyed, the academic aspect of it too.
So you would recommend it to another violin player?
I would definitely
Okay.
recommend it.
Now I can answer your question. What was the question again?
How did that idea come about, and how did you make it happen?
So, as you know, I was born and raised in Macon, Georgia, the center of the universe,
Yes.
the greatest city on the planet. Silence. Okay.
Yes.
But I am still in love with my hometown. My family's still there. I miss it, even though I love New York, obviously, and
Right.
love traveling. But I always thought about Macon.
Mm.
And the president of Mercer University, who was about to retire,
Right. Yeah.
of a man named Kirby Gotze, who is now the current chancellor, flew to New York back in 2004, I think, and basically said, I want to know this is how he presented. I want to know what it would take for you to come back to Macon in any form you see to put Mercer on the map in music. And that was it.
Mhm.
I said, and I was playing a lot then. I was traveling a lot. And I said, I'm so flattered. He said, what will it take? I said, I don't know. I play poker with Michael Bloomberg's lawyer. He would be my lawyer, and you might get sticker shock. So I don't know, because we're just kind of going back and forth. He said, there's no sticker shock.
Mm.
Have him call our general counsel. Then you'll have insurance for life. You'll have benefits for life. You'll be able to contribute back to your hometown, and maybe you might be able to do something, really meaningful and relevant. And, but I had no idea. It was just the fact of just going down there and taking a look. It wasn't even a school of music then. It was just a music department. Well, lo and behold, I signed a contract, and I go down there, and it's just like, and I'm there, and I realize, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Just to give you an idea of the early years, there was nothing. I mean, I was seeing my friends and seeing my parents, and occasionally listening to somebody play in third position, but the level wasn't wasn't high. I said the only way to put Mercer on the map is to create a conservatory for strings with famous teachers from around the country. We're going to have to bring in famous musicians who are on the front lines of music, who would come to Macon on a revolving door basis. I just saw the end. I saw the end vision, how it would look.
Yeah.
And getting there obviously was the hard part. And that gave me the chance to invite someone like Amy Schwartz-Moretti to come and help me start the thing.
Right.
Because Amy had been one of the greatest concertmasters I'd ever come across, and a beautiful chamber musician. And I just called her one night. I said, hey, she'd just become concertmaster of the Oregon Symphony in Portland. She was in her second year. She was late 20s, maybe close to 30. And I said, hey, what do you think about just quitting your job and coming to Macon, Georgia to start a school with me? And we have no students. And she said, well, that's kind of I said, it's a wacky idea. She said, I like wacky. Wacky works. And luckily her husband was a freelance drummer and didn't have to be in Portland. And we made them, a nice offer, but with no students. And by God, they loaded up the truck and moved to Macon.
Wow.
And she helped me get this thing started. And gradually, the first year we had maybe 5 students, pretty good. And each year we would always have at least 1, maybe 2 students who were a notch above the others. And that always gave us hope and optimism. And the fact that they were on full scholarships helped.
Yeah.
And as we grew the faculty and brought in faculty who would attract musicians from other disciplines, slowly but surely, we knew we were going to get there. And you came at a really good time. And it's only getting better. In fact, Stefan Jakiv has agreed to join the violin faculty to split the lessons with Amy Moretti, and we think that's just going to add another layer of excellence and excitement to what we're doing. So many great things have happened during the years, and I didn't see the curriculum happening until the school started growing, and I realized from all my travels that orchestra musicians are basically unhappy because they don't make decisions about how their music is played and heard. And they're artists, and no artist deserves to be locked out by any management.
Right.
And it's obscene, actually. Why not use the McDuffie Center not only as a great conservatory, but to have maybe an even greater purpose to explain why we had this curriculum, and go back to my own king for a day wish that musicians run the institutions in classical music in this country.
Yeah.
Across the board, I do feel that the musicians who have the training that you guys got at McDuffie Center and at Mercer, they're the ones who'll make the changes, because they'll be happy. They'll be able to determine their own destiny financially as well as artistically. To have to go on strike, I mean, is obscene. To have to be locked out is obscene. And that would never happen in a musician-led, where the president of the orchestra would be in the first violin section. That's the way it is in the Vienna Philharmonic. that's why I think that the McDuffie Center is a significant and important addition to the landscape.
Right.
Because we can get it done. We're lean and mean. We only have 27 students. We can get this thing done.
Mm.
And hopefully, my goal and dream is to set a template for other schools because there are way too many music students and too few slots
Right.
for jobs once the students graduate. So that's why we have it, and it seems to be working. We have some graduates. I mean, look at you. You got your own podcast. We have directors of music festivals. We have musicians and artist collectives. You know, it's starting small that way, and hopefully, eventually, it might get some traction with larger orchestras.
Right. Yeah, well, I think it's amazing what you've done with the McDuffie Center, and I totally agree and hope to be able to help musicians in the music world and yeah, be able to make a difference.
It's going to be hard. It's a really heavy lift
Yeah.
because so many things are going in the world right now.
Correct.
The arts world is really not front and center right now, especially in America. Other things are being, but with PBS and NPR having the kind of trouble they are with what's happening at the Kennedy Center. They're canceling shows at the Kennedy Center to have FIFA have all of when the World Cup comes to America, that's going to be the headquarters for FIFA. I mean, they're kicking out shows, and I mean, this is an inside baseball
Right.
thing, and the only people who can change it to me are the musicians themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's very inspiring, and I hope to be able to make a change. So you also have the Rome Chamber Music Festival, which I've also had the privilege of going to. What were some challenges in creating a music festival in another country?
Right. So that was a challenge too. Um, I mentioned my love for Rome, and when I took the family there in 2002, it was right after 9/11, and we just wanted to get out, and I wanted to be in the city I loved the most. And I was an artist in residence at the American Academy in Rome, which is kind of an artist colony. Established artists go there to work on their craft and their discipline. And I was there as a distinguished guest artist and mentor to the two Rome Prize winners in composition.
Okay.
So I played their music. They'd also refurbished this beautiful villa that was 16th century villa that was Cardinal Farnese's summer home.
Mm.
And it had a beautiful music room there on the second floor. And that's where Samuel Barber's Adagio on the Strings was premiered.
Oh, wow.
It was part of a string quartet. I think the Priority Quartet. It was in residence at the American Academy at the time. Played the world premiere of the Barber Quartet there.
Mm.
So after obviously my history with Barber, and that's where I worked every day in Rome, and it was such a beautiful space. I went to the American Academy and said, let's start a music festival.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get something started. I didn't, and this was selfish because I wanted to come back to Rome as an artist and not as a tourist, and they kind of agreed, and we worked, and we found a co-director, a co-founder, a Roman business person who lasted a year because I realized that the Romans will give you a party, but they won't give you much money.
I see.
So basically, it was Bobby and friends. I would bring people like Janine Jansen and Larry Dutton and Sen Yun Huang and Misha Amory and Jan Vogler and
Wow.
all these fantastic, Enrico Dindo and Mario Brunello and all these amazing musicians just to come and make music in this beautiful salon. But it was just a vanity thing. It was just like, it played in a salon for 125 people and called it the Rome Chamber Music Festival. And we kind of kept it that way, but I realized that it had to have a major American governance component. So we had to form and wanted to form a nonprofit 501c3 here in America, where we would raise the money in America and have more in-kind sponsorships in Rome, where instead of them giving us cash, they might give us free advertisement on a poster on a bus or something like that, but not cold hard cash. That's just not in their nature. They don't have the setup that we do in America, where philanthropists can give money and get their tax deduction. They don't have that in in Rome. A small little thing, but not to the extent that we have here. So I learned a lot about governance and how so much of the work had to be done in America to find support, financial support for it. But we got a good Italian team to work on us, and we kind of grew and grew. It was still kind of a selfish Bobby thing. But when I started the McDuffie Center, I realized, oh my gosh, this can be a young artist festival.
Mm-hmm.
And we started small.
Mm-hmm.
We brought a string quartet from Juilliard, and then we started inviting Roman, Italian young artists to come. And then several years in the McDuffie Center, that's when I started bringing the students from the center. And now it's a real part of Mercer's syllabus.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So I did want to ask you, you have a very unique music career, and I feel like in today's society, a classical music career can look very cookie cutter, a certain way. How were you able to build your career and be able to cater it to your wants and your personality?
Well, I started off just wanting to play Tchaikovsky and Sibelius and Brahms and everything. And when I signed with management, and it started off nicely. I mean, I actually became close with Menuhin, and I played all those. I played Bruch with him. I played Mendelssohn with him. We did all those Bach doubles. I played Bartok Rhapsodies with him conducting, and he knew Bartok. Bartok wrote the solo sonata for Menuhin,
Oh, wow.
and learned a lot musically and learned about his time. It was just an incredible experience with him. So I was playing those pieces, but the experience that I'd had with Samuel Barber never left me.
Hmm.
And I found that I was getting some really nice concert dates playing more contemporary music
Mhm.
as well, and kind of got a reputation that concerned me at the time, but looking back, I'm so happy I had it, that I was an American music specialist.
Mhm.
Um, and the fact that I was playing, talking about balancing out a career, this balancing out the repertoire, I would play the standards, but I would also play music of living composers. I remember, yeah, playing a recital of Elliott Carter and Tobias Picker and John Cage. I did the 4 minute
433.
433. I played that in Bucharest, Romania, with Ursula Oppens, the great pianist, and we had 3 movements, and
Mhm.
we had the timer, and you know just say like this, and then say like this, and we heard, obviously it worked because you heard the hisses
Right.
and the giggles and the awkward movement and
Right.
everything, and but we finished the piece, and we bowed and they clapped, but one guy on the front row went, which I thought was great. Um, but no, I knew Bernstein. I poured my heart into his Serenade. That was my only Grammy nomination.
Well.
It's nice to be nominated. And obviously Barber, Bernstein, Williams, Schumann, David Diamond, Peterman, and those mid-century composers, and then later another generation of Tobias Picker, Robert Beezer. I was so many. I mean, I was playing so much music of living composers, and then when I had the opportunity to record the John Adams and the Philip Glass concertos, and then John became one of my conductors. I mean, I remember playing in Rome with Santa Cecilia, the Bernstein Serenade, and John Adams was my conductor. And that was kind of cool, being with such a significant artist like that. And I played his concerto with him conducting several times in Aspen and St. Paul, and it was awesome. But Philip was the one that I really was attracted to, his music and his. I mean, I certainly admire and respect John Adams' music, and I'm proud of that recording, and I love that concerto. But as my mother would say, you can't whistle it in the shower.
Nope.
Yeah, I remember playing it once, and a non-musical friend of mine who had come to the concert, we were on the golf course the next day, and he said, "So I heard that concert. Do you just want us to hate music?" So But I don't care. I just felt it was a duty to do it. You just never know. We have to continue, and we have to do it right. And I remember when I played Elliott Carter piece for solo violin, Riconoscenza, in Macon when I was still at Juilliard. And I went down to Macon and put that on a recital in Macon. My mother, who's a very good musician, was not happy. She said, you come down here, you play that modern music, and you get to go back to New York, and I have to live with these people. So, but I was still determined to do it. But it was really because I worked with all those guys, I played Mendelssohn better than I think I could have ever played, because I looked at it as if it were written yesterday.
Right.
And that's why I'm freer with any of the standard works. Became freer with the standard works because of all my work with living composers.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel like I could talk to you forever about and ask you questions about your career, but I feel like we should wrap up. So I like to always close with this one question. What piece of advice do you want to give to aspiring professional musicians?
Okay, I'm not going to say the typical follow your passion because so many people say that. Obviously, you need to know what you want to do, but you also have to be clear-eyed enough to know if you can achieve it.
Yeah.
I would advise, you asked me advice for a musician. Take a strong, hard look in the mirror and know how good you are. And you kind of know. And, but be sophisticated enough to know what's out there and what's going to determine your happiness is, constantly struggling for orchestra job. Is that going to be? I mean, just be aware. Just to say, because I've heard this question asked of great musicians. They just say, if you love, you must. If you love it, you must. No. If you love it and if you can't play it, you mustn't. So just know your strengths. And you guys know. You guys are surrounded. You know where it is. And if you do believe in yourself and if you think you've got what it takes after doing your due diligence, looking at what the world is, what's out there, what you can take and grab, and be pragmatic as well as passionate. That would be the advice, because I'm not into the sweetness and light thing. It's you hear the stories of actors never wanting their children to become actors because it's such a rough life. There's something to that with our music.
Yeah.
Like you want your children to be happy and to be successful.
Yeah.
So just know who you are. Be self-aware enough to know if you're able to pursue your passion.
Well, that's very good advice. I definitely agree. And thank you so much for this incredible interview.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
And it was a joy to teach you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Robert McDuffie for this in-depth interview about how he worked hard to achieve the things he put his mind to and believed in. For more information on the Robert McDuffie Center for Strings, you can visit mcduffie.mercer.edu. Thank you so much for joining me on Backstage Classical Career Conversations. If you would like to support this podcast, please leave us a rating and review on the platform you're listening to this on. You can follow us on Instagram at Backstage Classical Podcast, and be sure to tell your friends and family to share these career stories from some of the top musicians in this country. I'm Katrina Stroud, and it was great to see you here. Until next time, stay inspired and listen to the stories of others.